USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Learn more and get a quote at usaa.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
Identifying like what is the root cause of this like discomfort that I'm feeling, and then once you understand what the root cause is, what do I want instead of this? How far apart is what I want from what I am currently doing? And then what is required to get from what I am currently doing to what I want? And that's like what is required from an income standpoint, what is required from a location standpoint, what is required from a community standpoint, what is required from a work standpoint. Like identifying, okay, so now because I have this understanding, because I was willing to ask myself the hard questions, I now have a roadmap for how to get there. All I have to do is start following it. Hey everyone, this is Meredith. You're listening to the Afternoon Snack Podcast. On today's show, I'm going to talk about how I quit my job. Well, okay, not technically, but I am making some changes, some really, really big changes actually, in what I do and how I do it. And even though I'm excited, I'm also nervous. And there's a reason why it has taken me this long to make some of these changes. And I think that anyone who's ever made a big decision and changed jobs or left a relationship or just done something that has in some way kind of turned their world and some of their predictability upside down will appreciate this episode. The funny thing about this podcast is like we talk about this shit all the time. But then it's like 3, 2, 1, go, time to record. And all of a sudden we're like, well, how do we start? What do we say? What are we going to talk about? We really should just start traveling around with microphones.
I find our kitchen and car conversations to be the best.
Maybe I'll just start doing like voice memos
Mm-hmm.
when we're having conversations. Just to like, have some raw audio if we want.
Yeah.
Or at least a reminder of what the hell we were talking about when we were having good ideas.
Yeah.
But
I feel like this is going to be a juicy one.
It is. And we're like, no story time, I think, because we're just getting right into it. And the stories will come. The big update. I have quit my job.
I feel like what you've done is you've made a horizontal move within the company.
A lateral promotion.
Yes.
Yeah. A title change. Not a title change. A job change. Yeah. But this has been something that we've talked about for like, I don't know, a year plus? 2
Way
years?
more than a year. Because I remember having a very serious discussion about it in the old place in the hot tub. So that's like over a whole winter ago.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're like, what are you talking about?
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. I've essentially decided.
Actually, it is if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Except
sure.
I hate when people say it. So
I know when people post stories and the only thing they put on like the Instagram story or the post is like the acronym, if you know, you know. And that's it. I'm like, you could not be more annoying.
The only scenario where you should be using the phrase, if you know, you know, is in a text message conversation containing only the people who would know.
Oh, so then it's like cheeky.
Yeah.
Okay. But then it seems.
Don't put it up if you're sending it out to people who don't know.
Yeah. Because then the people who don't know are like, do I ask people? How many people don't know here?
Right?
Am I in the majority or the minority? It's awkward. It's bad for everybody.
It is. Except for the people who know. And then they're like,
because they know,
Yeah. So what do some people know and some people don't?
Okay.
I would say if you know, you're in the minority, the lucky minority.
Yeah. I'm kind of retiring from coaching work, like one-on-one work with people. Which if you're, I realize there's like a very small handful of people who I am still working with because it's, you know, there are circumstances and people have contract terms or just haven't, phased everyone out. So if this is the first time you're hearing it, we can talk later. But by and large, like I haven't been really taking on new people for a while now. I've been sort of whittling down my bench of one-on-one coaching clients. Um, and yeah, the last week, basically sent a note to the vast majority of my remaining people and said, this is something that I've been thinking about for a long time. Um, the business is growing in new and exciting ways, and that's kind of pulling me in new and exciting directions. And I've been balancing for the most part, but it's starting to come at a cost. And I know myself well enough to know like the way I'm balancing it isn't sustainable. Um, it's not fair to the people who I'm working with. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to you, Alex. Um, and it's time to move on from that work, to pursue other things, other areas of work that I'm really enjoying and feeling driven to do. And so that's the update, which is kind of crazy because I've been doing this work for like 8 years, over 8 years, almost 10 years actually, to some extent, but full time really for about 8. And that's crazy. And I think part of my reluctance was like it has become like it is something that I do. It is in a way who I am. And so there is like, well, if I'm not that, then well, what am I? Sort of, to a degree.
Yeah.
There's like comfort and like in familiarity, I think.
Yeah. And I think kind of to pull from last week's episode, there's comfort also in knowing how much money you're making
Yeah.
each month based on how many clients you're carrying
Hmm.
and having that comfort and that, I guess, cushion. And so, I mean, originally we thought, okay, well, Meredith will just stop taking clients. And then eventually she'll just have a smaller client load, which will allow for more time for other things. So the balance will be easier. But the problem is clients, there's like, there's an amount of time that you spend on client work, and it's kind of the same amount of time no matter how many clients you have. Like
Yeah.
if you're in a range, it's kind of, this many days.
It's like constrained.
Yeah. So to reduce the number of clients, let's say by half, you're not really allowing for any extra time availability or energy availability, but you're making half the amount of income per
Yeah.
month. So that was also kind of happening, even though we had a strategy, like
Yeah.
an end date almost.
Yeah, and that's something that we didn't know. And like so you kind of find that out along the way that it like, oh, it's not necessarily the volume of work, it's the type of work
Mhm.
that is creating the impact here. And so yeah, I think that at the same time it is how, it's how we make money. It's how I make money. And it's hard to just be like I'm going to pull the plug on that and just figure things out because that, it matters. Like you have to live, you have to make money. So I think part of moving on or part of creating the transition was the fitness company. And that is something that, and it isn't even, well, when we started the fitness company, that wasn't my intent. Um, I was really curious about it and how it would go, but it became really clear, like, I really like that kind of programming. I like writing it. I like thinking about it. I like solving for um, creating really great fitness for a lot of people, instead of, individualized. And I know there's value to individualized fitness, and I like that kind of programming too. But I like thinking about who I know the people doing the programming, who's coming in, and then how can I maximize this, for them. It's kind of like when you're programming at like a CrossFit gym or a group class gym. Like it's not going to be perfect, but it can be really good for most people. And so I like kind of solving for that. And I've just really gotten into that. And I've been like, I've been loving watching that community grow and watching the company grow and sort of putting a lot of energy into that and seeing that, start to stand on its own 2 feet in a way that has created a viable alternative for us, for me, or at least a cushion and a safety net for me to be able to take some time or make this move away from one-on-one work with people.
Yeah. I think the main catalyst for you, correct me if I'm wrong, of course, is one-on-one work. While as fulfilling as it can be extremely draining. And we've been doing this for so long. It's not even the people that you're working with one-on-one. It's also the Instagram account. So growing that requires a certain amount of, and I don't want to say like face to face, but there is one-on-one interaction.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, it's even harder because it's with strangers. And we've talked about this before, having to defend our stance on things,
Yeah.
to kind of carve our space, our place in the space, to make ourselves seem legitimate. And that means responding to DMs. It means responding to comments. It means like making posts that clarify prior posts. It's just like, it's keeping people engaged, keeping people happy, helping them,
Yeah.
while also growing the business, which means growing the brand, which means growing our reputation and protecting it. And that can be exhausting. And it's not even content creation. It's dealing with people.
Yeah.
And one of the first steps you made in creating a boundary with that was not responding to every single comment, which you used to do. As soon as a post would go up, you would like or comment to most comments, which helps or used to help the algorithm. I don't even know how it works anymore.
Yeah.
But that was just starting to take a huge toll on you because you would defend every single thing down to the bone.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with people who are just, some people are just out to play devil's advocate.
Yeah.
And like, they've got nothing to lose. They don't have a reputation. They're just being assholes sometimes. Meanwhile, it's taking hours out of your day thinking and commenting back to these types of people, especially for us, because we've always put our flag in the ground.
Yeah, and like to some degree, comments are also content. Like you can create really like good follow-up content on your own content, which I know like people look forward to seeing in some way. And it's not that I don't do that at all anymore. I tend to do it more from my my personal account and stay away from using the tactic account or even engaging with the tactic account on tactic content. But yeah, I really had to stop engaging and stop doing that so much because it was mentally very draining. And that's on top of already like very intense work. Like coaching work is intense, especially like the way that we do it, which I think is ethically correct and has a lot of science behind it, has a lot of theory behind it. But it means you're having potentially like really big conversations with people. And it's something, and I don't know a ton about it, but you kind of like intuitively might think that someone who works in that space would become better at managing that type of work, like personally, internally. And I found that I have somehow gotten worse at it. Not like that sounds super negative, so I don't want to. Like, it's not. What I mean, I guess, is that the effect of engaging with people and kind of carrying big emotions. Like I just feel like I've been absorbing more and more of that personally, and it means like I just get really fatigued from it, and I don't like that. I think that's a thing unique to me. I don't think because you have a different way of compartmentalizing that work and are less affected by it. But that's just like me personally. I've just kind of felt myself just getting really, worn down by that. And it's not the like, I want to be careful to make sure anyone who is listening, who is a client or an old client, isn't hearing me say like, you made me tired or you fatigued me or I don't want anyone to feel bad about conversations that they've had with me because honestly, like it is truly like been an honor to be that person for people and I really enjoy it. And so that's always been the sticking point is like this thing that is very tiring for me and emotionally heavy, is also something that I really enjoy doing. And, I work really hard at that, and I've always tried really hard at that. And I am proud of the development that I had in that space. And I'm always honored that people let me in to do that kind of work. So it's not that, individual people or anyone should feel bad for anything here. It's just the way that work can be sometimes. And I think you would hear, the same thing from counselors and therapists and anyone who works in the helping field for long enough. Like you probably, you deal with it in different ways. And one of the ways that you might deal with it later in your career is by doing less of it. I mean, like the therapist that I see sometimes and we've seen is she only does client work 1 day per week. And like I've never asked her why that is, but I think I probably know why that is. It's just because you want to do a good job, but it's hard. It's really hard work. So that's kind of the driver. And it's not I think it's to pull back the curtain. Like, what does that look like? Like does it just look like, oh, I'm really tired all the time? No, I mean, I'm still obviously able to live my life and exercise and train, but it's there's sometimes it felt like there's not a lot left over after those things. Like even for our relationship, like there's just not a lot left. And we've had plenty of arguments, like where I'm saying I just feel like we don't get quality time, and that's a lot of it is on me because like I can't be there for quality time because I'm not recovered enough. And then the other type of work that I do, the creative stuff, is really really hard to do when I'm drained. And so that's probably, I would say, the two areas that I feel this the most is in our relationship. Basically just you're getting the worst part of me. And then the thing that I really, really enjoy doing, the creative stuff, I have nothing. I don't have a well to pull from. Like it, so that's kind of what the impact has been.
Yeah. So we would do check-ins on Monday and Thursday are the kind of the two main days for check-ins. Wednesday is an optional. The client can reach out with a little bit of it's like a journaling activity. So it's not so much, most commonly not necessarily a full-on conversation, but there are ways for the client to kind of reflect on how they feel during the week, which is a great way to check in.
Yeah.
But on the coaching side, Mondays can be intense because it is a lot of client-facing work. And then Thursdays are also intense. And so for you, what we noticed is, of course, Mondays would be tough, but then the following day, Tuesday and Friday, would be almost like a hangover day for you emotionally. And then also just like you just were tired.
Yeah.
And then there wouldn't be a whole lot of work getting done, which like is fine. I mean, it's not fine. It's hard because like, you want to say like, okay, well, I have Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday to do all this work. I have 24 hours. But when you're drained and a lot of the work that you do, the extra work, different than my extra work, is not just, checking the box and doing an admin or responding to an email. It's figuring out what comes next for the podcast or how to, write an email.
Yeah, it's a lot of like
how the website needs to get improved. Like it's a lot of like problem solving without a clear answer. And then the creative stuff. I mean, notice myself, like if I have a lighter week, or I'm on vacation, I can think of posts all day long.
Yeah.
Like even my personal page, I don't know. Whereas back in the day when I didn't have such a demanding job, which I love, I was able to think of hilarious posts all the time.
Yeah.
And have the energy to pull them off.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look back in our Instagram, I sometimes think about it and I think, wow, we used to like go outside in the neighborhood and run down the street and do like running ones and changing scenes and all these like little creative things that right now are like, I'm just going to sit in this chair, get the camera.
Yeah. Yeah. It was funny. We were having a conversation with our friend Sam Valentine, who was on the show, and we were kind of joking about content and how you do get to a point where it's great because you can just go back and sort of like remake content that you've already made. maybe you change the language here or there. And I made the joke like, yeah, so we we go back 3 years and look at posts that were really popular and we just remake them, except now we look tired.
Yeah.
She thought that was really funny. And it's kind of that's a funny segue too. So Sam Valentine, we had her on our show. She's great. She's a professional actress, but also hustles, man. Like I appreciate that level of hustle in another human being. But so she owns her platform's One Broke Actress, by the way. You can find her everywhere. She owned Fast Forward Production, which you probably recognize as the production company that we've used for our podcast. They're in an intro. It's Sam's voice. And so we were talking some weeks ago we've been talking about this for a long time. And we were kind of kicking around the idea of maybe bringing the podcast back in-house for production, meaning I would take over the editing and things like that, because I have that skill set. I have the software. I know how to do it. It's just time consuming. And so I had been not doing that to free up time for other work, including client work. So that's an area where, I can take it back and we can save a little bit of money. And, but I was like, I really like Sam. I don't want to this is going to be a hard relationship to end because, we just value her so much. And, our more recent work with her company, we'd still worked with Sam, but it would be a lot of other people because she was growing that business. So she had hired editors, she had hired project managers, and we were working with those folks too, who are also great. But it wasn't Sam. And so I was like, maybe this is just kind of the sign, right? Like it's time. And so we were kind of thinking about how to break the news, and we get an email from Sam with an update about her work and her company, and she basically said that she was going to be closing down her agency, so Fast Forward Production. Gave a little bit of maybe, I don't remember how much she said in the email about why that was, but basically going to be, transitioning all of the Fast Forward Production podcast clients to this new creative agency who was going to take over editing. It was going to be very seamless. It was going to allow Sam to step back into the one-on-one meetings, which is what she really loves to do, but it's going to take off the burden of the editing and the production side. And I was like, interesting. And so we had set up a meeting with Sam, obviously, to talk about the transition to this new production company. And we just asked, like, what's going on here? And she basically, it was kind of the same story. Like I'm building this company because I can, but it means I'm not doing what I actually like to do. And so for her, I think it just got to a point where it's like, what am I doing? So she decided to basically just walk away from that and be able to step into work that she enjoys more, even though it costs her, she's going to take a pay cut for that. And I just really, again, admire that. And, what we get to do now is work with Sam one-on-one for project management and planning, but take our production in-house. So it's kind of like, it's actually like exactly what we wanted to do and what we talked about doing before even, the announcement was made that she was going to be wrapping that up. And it just, there's so many things that just sort of clicked into place. I mean, even talking about how she would get to the end of the day and be the worst version of herself for her partner. And I was like, oh my God, like we're living parallel lives here. And I just it was hearing that really validated for me. Like I kind of needed to hear that on a level to be like, this is okay. Like it's okay to do what I'm about to do. Like I'm not the only one who makes these decisions. And clearly not the only one who struggles with this.
Yeah. I guess this is a big change for you and somewhat sudden, not really, because it was planned and phased. But within the last few years, there have been slow changes for us as well. I mean, even for me, I remember going for a run a few years back with Georgia Simmerling, who we've also had on the podcast. And we were talking about her business. She had a business that she started after her sporting career came to a close, where she was basically representing
But like an agency.
athletes, right?
Yeah.
And it was all women, and she was just having a lot of success with it early on. And she said that, and then I was telling her about our business and some of the things that I was struggling with at the time. And what I was struggling with at the time were managing the coaches that had come on. And I really love working with people. I really, really love it. I really love growing the business. As much as I don't like doing videos, I love Instagram. I love getting the positive feedback and helping people and just feeling like you're making an impact, even a small one. I do not like managing people. I don't like dealing with complaints. I don't like having to tell people how to do their jobs. I'm just not, that's not my superpower. And I remember saying to her, like, oh, I'm struggling with this and that. And she was like, Alex, and she didn't go to university, but she's had a lot of just success in her career. And since her sporting career has had a lot of success in business. And she said that she had a mentor once that told her, you need to focus on your superpower. And I think for a while there, we really lost sight of what those superpowers were for both of us. Like I got caught up in growing the business by hiring coaches and then trying to manage them.
Yeah.
When that is not my superpower, and it's actually my least favorite thing to do probably ever.
Yeah.
Like not knowing how to handle a person, we don't have HR. It's all on us. It's not like, solving or helping someone through a difficult time in their life because you're their coach. It's a different dynamic that I don't enjoy. So over time, it's almost like, hey, we need to put a pause on hiring more coaches and growing the company in this way.
Yeah.
Because it's taking away from the work that I'm very good at and really enjoy. And that hasn't been like a huge change. We still have the coaching company and a lot of the coaches, but it's not the...
I think it takes away that pressure of like, we were so focused on like hiring coaches that can help us get clients, hiring coaches that can help us get clients. And then you realize like, if that coach could actually help you get clients, they'd have their own company.
Right.
And, which is like, we still need the people that we have. Like there's still enormous value in having a really, really good core team. And I think we do. But it's not, the pressure is off of like finding, new people to come in and join it. It's like, what if we just like didn't? What if we just like, this is who we have. If it ever gets to be too much, we just waitlist. The end. Like we don't have to grow that way. Like there's a lot of ways to grow. And I think that was a big shift for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was just like, let's put a real focus on the coaches that are here and doing a great job and bought in, and find other ways where it's actually enjoyable to grow the business.
Yeah. But I think, and Sam talked a bit about this too, you get really enamored with the idea of growth potential and income, especially when you see it pay off like right away, which, we do. We don't carry a lot of overhead. I mean, our coaches like are our overhead. Like that's our biggest cost for business. But outside of that, not a ton. And so, yeah, when you grow the team, you see your income go up, and you can go down a lot of rabbit holes that are correlated with income. And it's kind of like, Sam called it, and I've used this before too, the golden handcuffs. It's like, because something is making you money, you feel obligated to continue doing it. But that can come at a real cost to happiness and enjoyment.
And even making, and this is not all about money, but I want to point it out. Just focusing solely on the one way that you're making money can prohibit other ways of making more money.
Yep.
It's like you have your head in the sand, just like digging deeper and deeper and deeper when it's getting harder and harder and harder. The ground is becoming like more dense.
Yeah.
And you continue to dig and dig and dig. And you're like, why isn't this working the way that it used to? Why is this getting so much harder?
Yeah.
Why are the coaches sending me emails like this? Like, it's tricky. Why is it harder to find new coaches or get more clients? Or when it's like, you can just start digging in a completely different area that you haven't even looked at.
Yeah. And it reminds me of that. The podcast that we already talked about with Dana Miranda on Katie Gatti Tassan's podcast, when she's talking about how people's brains work when they budget. And there's this, sort of emergency fund mindset where like, well, I can't spend my emergency fund on like a couch. or I can't spend it on anything but an emergency. But it's like, what constitutes an emergency? Like, does not having comfort in your life, is that not kind of an emergency? And then she gets into this conversation, which I think is just brilliant. Like, the whole thing hinges on trust, and you have to trust that, like, you have the ability to earn back money that you spend. You have the ability, if you give up income by stopping work that you don't enjoy, you have to trust, because it's true, you have the ability to find new ways of earning money. Like, you can earn it back. You can replace the ongoing revenue with something else. And I think the fitness company, and then like a lot of our partnership work this year,
And Patreon.
yeah, it's like, it's reminded me, it's not the one thing that I do that makes me money. It's like, it's not the thing that I'm doing that's the X factor here. It's me. It's I'm doing it. So I can just like pick up the I'm doing part and put it somewhere new. And it's going to work just as well, because like that's how I operate. That's how I've always operated, which is like, I'm just going to make this work, and I'm going to work it until it works. And that's just kind of it. I mean, there's two sides to that coin. Like, the I have to temper that with like not chasing everything. And it's not even chasing everything. It's just, I think when you run a business or businesses, and you start seeing the world through that lens of what doesn't exist that can exist, that I can make, like that entrepreneurial kind of outlook, I find myself constantly thinking about new businesses. Like,
I mean, you do more than think about them.
Yeah,
You
I
do tell me, and I'm like, oh my goodness. That sounds like even more work.
Yeah, I'm like, I want to own some real estate in, downtown Fernie. I want to figure out how to make money doing that. I want to invest in that. Fernie doesn't have a laundromat. What if we, is it a laundromat? Yeah, a laundromat. Like, what if we started one? What if we started one and we made it like a bar / laundromat? Like,
you're giving away all your ideas now, Meredith.
But don't do that. That one is kind of a warm idea. But you start, like, the positive side of that is, like, I have every belief that if I wanted to open a laundromat bar in Fernie, I can make that work, and that could be how I make money. But like the flip side is, sometimes that type of fantasizing can be a little distracting, and I end up having a lot of things that I could do, but that don't really do anything. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know what you mean.
Yeah. But when I actually free up enough resources to take action on things that can create impact, I can be quite effective.
Agreed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a wild to walk away from it. I mean, I remember walking away from my engineering job back in 2016. I remember what that felt like.
Does it kind of feel like when you're done finals?
A little.
Like, not that you're in school for a reason. And I loved school. But there's like, you've just been pushing so hard, and then you kind of finish the last exam, and you're kind of like, okay. And something will start again.
Yeah.
But it's different. It's like new classes. But there's like that feeling of almost like joy and freedom. Like that heaviness has kind of, and like the heaviness will come back in other ways.
Sure.
But for a minute, you're kind of like, I feel refreshed. I feel I needed a break, and now I can dive into something new.
Yeah. It does. I mean, I feel like I'm on summer holiday, and I'm trying to contain that because I know you'll get really pissed off if I like start acting that out.
Yeah, especially since I took a lot of your clients.
Yeah, which I think they're happy. I've heard from a few of them, and it seems like it's exciting. It can be exciting to have, a fresh perspective. So.
I will say it's a little nerve-wracking taking on your clients.
I know, because I'm the best.
Yeah. And also it's hard because I think when you've had clients for more than a few months, your coaching evolves. Like, I coach some people completely different than other people.
Yeah.
My questions, my conversations will be totally different. So I'm starting with these people who have months, sometimes years of rapport with you.
Yeah.
And I'm coming in like, so, like, do you have any nutritional challenges, like, for the weekend?
And they're like, oh, we don't We haven't talked about nutrition in like months.
Right?
It's like I've been doing the two-step
Can you
with
ask me
them.
how my relationship is with my husband this week? Because that's what Meredith asked me.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I've been two-stepping with people for years, and you come in with a foxtrot just right away.
And it's not that I can't coach like that.
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know these people.
Yeah.
But I imagine they're going to help me and humor me a little bit.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But I did notice a lot of people when I asked some initial questions, and I imagine it would be the same for me. You know, you do get into a bit of a pattern with people, and you phase out of certain types of coaching, and you focus on different things. And then if they some of them transferred over to me, and a lot of them were saying, I would like to refocus on nutrition a little bit, which I found to be not surprising at all.
No.
Because, you know, you get an opportunity to get some fresh eyes. And I thought that was kind of interesting and cool.
Yeah.
And so and it won't be like, okay, we're going to focus on nutrition for 6 months. It's kind of like, hey, let's get a refresh. Yeah. Actually, you're doing a pretty darn good job.
How about that?
And so I'm excited.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're back to work tomorrow.
Yeah. But I think it's going to allow me, I think, a bit more freedom with like how I work.
That's concerning.
Not freedom. I'm trying to rephrase that. Less structure. Is that better?
No.
Okay, not less structure. Like in my brain, there's been a lot of things that I've just been kicking down the road because they do take, I have to like sit with them. I have to think about them, their projects, there's problem solving, there's figure out how they fit in the like grand scheme of doing things. And, you know, there is a process to being creative, and there's a process that comes with being, you know, having ADHD and some neurodivergence, and like the way that can be a superpower, there's a certain way that you have to let that be. And even as crazy as it is, like having 2 days a week that are just like these days are like this, no, like there is no flexibility. It like breaks me a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. See, what I worry about is you in the past with client work, you have a finite amount of time to do the other work that you do, which is different than my work. And sometimes I see you kind of, you know, doing what needs to get done to kind of get by to a degree.
Yeah.
Like it, you know, you're going to do a post, but it's kind of like last minute, or, you know, you get the programming done just in time, or you get, you know, those types of things. And you're one that will often prioritize other things instead of work, because we do have a very flexible schedule. So it's easy to say, oh, I'm just going to go to the bike shop and pick up my bike on a Tuesday at 10 a.m. And it's like, without some structure, I worry that might happen. And I'm trusting it.
Yeah.
I know that once you get some projects going and you reestablish a type of flexible structure again, it will be okay. But I do think that that is my concern.
Do you remember the financial freedom conversation with Amanda Holden, where she's talking about people's spending habits when they're in a job that they don't love?
Yeah.
So because they do this work that they don't love, they go out and to make themselves, you know, feel better or create some dopamine, probably on a like, you know, neurochemical perspective. They go out and they spend money and they buy expensive things and they treat themselves, and that's how they balance that. Not that I go out and I spend a lot of money. I don't have, you know, that going on, which I'm sure you would argue with, but to some degree. But
you're saying
it's not the
it's
money
not spending money, it's wasting time.
It's like to counteract the lack of freedom and flexibility on those days, I sort of like lean into an extreme amount of it on other days.
Okay.
And so like I do that as a way to check the box for myself and make myself feel like, you know, loose and like I can do what I want, and like I get some of that back. So I think without having any evidence of this yet, I think that because I don't have to counterbalance those extremely rigid days, there will probably be less of that.
Yeah.
Because I think that it's the same underlying driver for me.
We can only hope. If it doesn't work out, I will lock you to your desk and put your headphones on your head.
Yeah.
And say, this is what you're doing today.
I did work on Thursday, like downtown, like just at a coffee shop for pretty much the day. And that is definitely an option for me from like a productivity standpoint. I do notice a higher level of distractibility at home versus when I'm like sitting in a coffee shop or sitting outside on a patio.
My best work is, I'm a pretty focused person. My best work is done on an airplane.
Yeah, because you're so limited.
Yeah. Like I wouldn't say I'm that bad with social media. But I do notice when I'm on an airplane and the only thing connected to my internet is my computer, or the internet is my computer, which I don't have Instagram on. I can't go on my phone to Instagram because it's not connected to the internet. And then also just like, you're not browsing things, you're not distracted by dogs, you're not making food, you're just on a plane for whatever, 4 to 6 hours.
Yeah.
And you get a lot done.
Oh yeah.
Because what else is there?
There's nothing. It's amazing.
And like most of us have bad breath on the airplane, so you don't want to talk to anyone near you, even if it's you.
But maybe you have bad breath because you don't talk.
Maybe.
It's like a chicken and the egg.
Yeah. Or maybe it's because I don't like chewing gum.
Or drinking water.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I feel very privileged to have the ability to shift. Like, that's not something everyone can do. And I'm very aware of that. So, but at the same time, it's not like, oh, I'm so lucky, because like I'm also aware that a part of this is we've created this. Like, I've created the ability to do this. So I'm pretty proud of that too. And there's literally a year and a half of creating something that is an alternative. And it's not the only thing I'll be working on, but
imagine how scary it would have been if you did this with the client work before the fitness business started. I mean, the fitness business is significant considering you've also still had a hand in on nutrition coaching.
Yeah.
And managing our team and all of the stuff that comes with that.
Yeah. I mean, you can kind of look at the company and everything that's involved. Like, number one, I don't think I could have handled the pressure before. Like, I really, like, I wanted to make some changes before now, but I didn't, and I didn't for a reason. I just don't think that would have been good. But, yeah, there's like the nutrition company, and then, all of the coaching, then that's kind of its own work. And then the admin side of things, and you do a lot of that. And then there's the fitness company and the programming and admin side of that. And that I do a lot of that.
And app development.
And then, yeah, web and app development, which that's my project as well. And then, outside of the other, like those companies, there's these little sort of sub things like media that's kind of its own company, even though it's under the umbrella of the main company. There's partnership work, and that's new, but also kind of its own type of work. And then there's, as silly as it sounds, kind of like the Meredith and Alex brand. And that is what's driving some of our partnership work, but also sort of like somewhat untapped from a potential standpoint. And so that's, that is sort of a different thing. So people are asking me like, well, what are you going to start doing more of? And I'm like, so many things. Like there's like the fitness company, the community side of things, community events, which we might get back into, like building that part up. So it's a lot of things that I've been like half doing that I'm going to start like full doing, because I love them, and there's just so much potential there to create impact for people. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited.
Me too. Like it'll be a really good reset and like neat opportunity to grow and just dabble and explore and figure out what, where we're going, what the future looks like. Isn't it crazy? Like sometimes people ask like, well, what are you going to be doing in 5 years? And I'm like, I have no idea. the path is always kind of presented itself as you walk it. And you just try to make the best decisions that you can while you're on it. That's always been it's always been the way. And that's what we're doing right now. So
Yeah, I think, well, I was telling you this before, but I think that when you, well, two things, but one was a catalyst for the other, I think, for both of us. When you live a somewhat unhappy life in the closet, you really get a good feeling for what that's like. And we've talked about this before, like what I think a lot of people live in their own closets.
yeah.
And some people don't even realize it. Like you can be gay in a closet and not even know why you're so unhappy or why your identity feels weird because you just don't know. And I think that can be the case for people who are in careers that don't suit them or that they're not fulfilled or happy or marriages or I don't know, anything really. And when you finally get out of that, when you finally have the courage to say, like, I figured it out, I'm not living this life anymore, as scary as it can be, as vulnerable it can be. I mean, change is really hard and scary. Once you do it and you realize life gets better after, at least for me it did, you become more confident about doing it again and recognizing when something isn't right.
Yeah.
And I think for me, I felt that with my job as a lawyer in the firm that I was working at, it just immediately after a year, well, it was actually 2 years or a summer and a year, I knew that this wasn't for me.
Yeah.
It just wasn't for me. I was never going to be able to just like be happy with a man. It was a similar feeling. I'm never going to be happy living this life.
So even though
having
this
this career.
makes me comfortable in ways, like it makes me deeply uncomfortable in other ways.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That is a perfect way of explaining it. And I
Yep.
could stay, but I knew that feeling. And you didn't necessarily leave your job for the same reasons that I did, but I think you had a desire to kind of explore. And maybe that was a bit of a catalyst from coming out and just
Yeah.
saying like, I can handle the hard stuff to see what the possibilities are.
Yeah.
And that's continuing, I think, in our life today. It's like, okay, it can be really challenging to change or even just face the really tough stuff, but like it will be worth it in the end.
Mhm.
I mean, even if we become like unhappy in our relationship for whatever reason, as difficult as it can be, we both know that it's better to face it and talk about it. At least I do. I'm the one that's like, hey, something's up. And you're like, can't you just not? And I'm like, no, I can't just not because it's not okay. I want it to be better. And it gets a little worse before it gets better. But I do think that coming out of the closet and just facing and making changes is better. Like Sherry said.
Yeah, if you complain about something 3 times, you have 2 choices. You can either accept it or you can change it. This has always been like one of my favorite things that anyone has ever said
Yeah.
because I agree with it.
Because the last thing you want is to be stuck in a place where you're just continuing to complain. Acceptance is powerful,
Yeah.
but changing it is also really powerful. And you have the option. But I just don't think staying in it and staying unhappy, I personally just don't think that's the right option. And I do think sometimes it's not the right time or the right place to make a change. But keep it on the radar and try to set yourself up, just like Amanda Holden said in that podcast. I mean, she knew she was going to leave her career and she set herself up to be able to do that. And that took what, a year and a half or something?
Yeah.
Where she had to create enough of a financial cushion where she could leave and feel okay. And that took a lot of hard work, a lot of saving money, a lot of like kind of in that time figuring out what she was going to do next.
Yeah, and then like before that, just figuring out what it is that she's feeling
Mm-hmm.
and what that means and what she wants. And so it's like a lot of people don't even get there. It's like identifying like what is the root cause of this like discomfort that I'm feeling. And then once you understand what the root cause is, what do I want instead of this? How far apart is what I want from what I am currently doing? And then what is required to get from what I am currently doing to what I want? And that's like what is required from an income standpoint, what is required from a location standpoint, what is required from a community standpoint, what is required from a work standpoint. Like identifying, okay, so now because I have this understanding, because I was willing to ask myself the hard questions, I now have a roadmap for how to get there. All I have to do is start following it.
Yeah. We're not suggesting blow up your life.
But
There's strategies involved.
You can get a backhoe to it if you want from time to time. Like, I think so many people just get stuck in this sunk cost of life. And I mean, that was me in a lot of ways in my marriage, first one. You're like, but it's been X number of years, or I've been in the closet for however many years. Like it's too late, or it's gonna be too hard if I change. Like I blew my whole life up, and that is not an exaggeration. Like the whole thing just crumbled on my account, and that was still the best decision that I've ever made. So anything, like, even as hard as this decision is, as hard as some of the stuff that we go through professionally and personally, like, so far nothing has touched that. So I know I'm okay, because if I can come back from that, like if I can rebuild from that rubble, I built this amazing life that I love so much. Like if I can come back from that, I can come back from literally anything.
What did you say last week? It was like, I don't necessarily think I expected to go from making however much money as an engineer at this big company to not having a job and work and sleeping on my sister's floor in her tiny apartment within the span of however long.
Yeah.
Like
that was it. And part of that was I was trying to save all of the money that I could possibly save. But yeah, I was like, okay, so this is what a ride I am on, And
just going, like, it's crazy to think you had so much security.
Yeah. Like just white picket fence life. Like you can't
what would people would say, like a great job.
American dream.
Yeah. Like a solid quote relationship,
living
dual
in
income, nice house,
great neighborhood, just on the most perfect trajectory that you could imagine. And I was like, nope. What are my other options? Oh, air mattress and a kitchen? Perfect. Let's do that.
But it gets to a point where it's tough. And you look back, and I know you don't say that you have regrets, but what if you caught it a little early? Like, what if you were just, back then it's hard to say, but what if you were just a little bit better at knowing what you wanted, or at least asking yourself and facing, no, I don't want to get married.
Yeah.
But back then you just didn't know. It was like, even if you did know, you didn't have the confidence. And that's not I was the same in a lot of respects.
Yeah.
You just kind of go along with it because you don't know. You're young and you haven't learned yet. And it just takes kind of one thing to say, wait, I matter. What I want matter. What do I want? I don't think a lot of people even ask themselves that question.
Or they think it's too late to even worry about what I want or what I wanted, 10, 20 years ago. It's like, it's not too late. It's never too late for that. You're not stuck on the boat. You can get on a different boat at any time.
Yeah, there are certain things that you are stuck with.
Yeah, for sure.
Like kids.
Yeah, and you
can still make changes within those parameters. Right.
You do the best with what you have.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, it's easy. You could what if yourself to death. Like you never know, like, where did that other boat go? Like you never get to know the answer to that question. You only know where the one went that you got on, like for better or for worse. And, I think about that all the time. Like, what would it have been like to be a little more self-assured a little earlier in my teens, early 20s? But then I think like a lot of the opportunity that I had after I just imploded my life, a lot of the opportunity that I had moving here was because of that. Like, working that job and saving and having a cushion allowed me to travel to Calgary and like spend time with you. It allowed me to take a year and a half off of work before. And, have new experiences and meet new people and have my eyes opened by those people. And so I don't regret that. Like I wonder, I think anyone would wonder what that would be like. But for me, I'm like, I don't know that I don't know that I would be here if I had made that decision sooner, or I had realized, or been more comfortable with myself younger. Like, I don't think I would. So
Yeah.
I'm happy where I am now. And that means I have to accept everything that got me here, like good or bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing with going to law school. Like, people think it's ridiculous, but at the same time, you're like, it was the decision that I made at the time, and you make the most of it in the end. But then there's also the coaching thing. I mean, having coached for 8 to 10 years
Mm-hmm.
has allowed you to be able to create content that really hits, because you have so much experience of knowing how people tick and what helps them.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's not, I would never, ever call coaching a waste. Like number one, I just like it,
Mm-hmm.
but also it's, I've learned
I mean,
more
you're
from,
still coaching.
yes,
You're just
in a
coaching in a
way.
different way.
Yeah. And it's given me so much perspective on life. Like I've learned more from people that I've worked with than they've learned from me. Like that is for sure. And that's just a thing that I will be eternally grateful for in all of this. Whether I'm working one-on-one with people at all, is that, you know, people have been so open and gracious with me, and like kind enough to share their perspectives and let me see them change and just walk through that with them, because otherwise I'd still be coaching people like, oh, let's try to get your protein up to 155, like that fucking matters. I mean, it's still important. There are things that are important from a health coaching standpoint, from nutrition, but like I just watching people change and getting to be a part of that has just opened my eyes to what it actually takes to do hard things. It's not what people think. And if I get to communicate that moving forward, then it's been the best gift that anyone could ever have given me.
Yeah. The cool thing about the way we coach, I think, is like, to coach nutrition. And I've always believed this. And I think this is why we have so many touch points with our clients. And I enjoy so many touch points with my clients, is like, I can help people with their nutrition when I know if they're dating.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to know about their dating life, of course, within reason, but it impacts, like,
Yeah.
I don't know, like, there's a reason they're not hitting their protein, and it's because they're going out for dinner or staying up late talking to their new romantic interest all night.
And that might be totally fine, but
Totally. So I'm not just going to be berating them for missing their protein every day, because
if
I want to know what's up.
Yeah.
I'd rather talk about their dates than their nutrition, and then maybe at the end say, like, okay, so let's talk about breakfast, because like that's within your control.
You guys don't go on breakfast dates, right?
Well, sometimes you do, but you know what I mean? Like, there's still, like, let's, within this new environment that you're living in, which I know about now, and it's exciting, and I'm living vicariously through you, because I'm in a very long-term relationship that sometimes has lost its fizzle.
Excusez-moi, it did more than fizzle.
It flamed. The flame's still there. It just comes and goes.
Yeah, it's
kind of like a burner.
The gas needs to be serviced. It's sputters sometimes.
But that's the fun stuff about coaching.
Uh-huh. Oh, I agree.
And I think that's why I love it so much. I mean, there's times where you deal with certain people who can be challenging, just like I can be challenging. And you deal with challenging people outside of a professional relationship. But you just think about all the good stuff and like what comes of it and how you grow as a human. And I think that you will continue to find a lot of fulfillment and be happier. And I've learned a lot from you as it, like, having you as my mentor.
I was your first mentor.
You were.
Back in 2017.
When I first started at that, at a different company, before we started our own company, when I was getting clients, I was on an internship. So I would have clients, and I think I was getting paid like 50% of what the coach's commission was. And then my mentor would get the other 50%. And you gave me all of the commission.
I did do that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's me. Quit my job. Just kidding.
You've said that a couple times and people are like, what?
I know.
And then you're like, well, I didn't actually.
Let me explain. You're selling the company. No. No, that's not what I mean.
Yeah, and then they're like, I hate you.
You're the
really
absolute
annoying.
worst. I know.
That's actually worse than if you know, you know.
That is. Just saying something absurd, and then people go, what? And then you're like, just kidding. I mean, kind of. Like when I tossed you the lid to the blender bottle today and you thought it was a coffee mug.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I did think earlier this week, I'm like, okay, what if Meredith just gets so fed up with me and this company and then she just leaves and like works for Garmin? What would I do? That would be hard. That would be hard for me.
I think you'd open a pet resort.
You think?
I don't know. I'm just like, I feel like that would be good. I feel like you could do that. Alex's Pet Resort.
That is not
No,
unique
that's
at all.
no good.
I could do way better at the name.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe. Pet resort would be fun because then you're just surrounded by animals all the time.
Yeah. I was thinking about after the Garmin week, like how I was like, oh, we should start like a women's only like bike publication or page or something like that. And then so ever since then I've just been like having these names, these potential names will pop into my head.
Bike Her.
Bike Her was the first one, which is like,
and I'm like, too gendered. It's too gendered.
I know, but it's still better than Endurho.
No, I actually don't think it's better than Endurho is so good. And you could start off every article with hey hoes.
Maybe we just take the term back, because you can be
kind of like we've reclaimed lesbian.
Anybody can be a hoe, and like we need to not judge that,
right?
But like, is the word hoe?
Hoe is now inclusive.
Is it? Yeah, I just wonder, is there like judgment baked into the word hoe, or like? I guess I just need to do more research.
Yeah, we probably should.
I thought Endurho is my newest one.
What are some of the other ones?
Let's see. There was something with like Vela, but it sounded too like much like a private part, so that one was no good.
Yeah. You got to be careful with the V words.
Yeah. Like cycle her, but that's even worse than bike her. I don't know. I'm working like honestly, Endurho is the best one.
It
I've
is.
come up with so
what
far.
about if you use the word with them?
Yeah. I mean, like they cycle would be cool. I gotta think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll expand.
Back to the drawing board. For now, bike hoe.
No,
Wait, no.
Endurho.
Endurho.
It's so bad. It's so bad. But gosh, yeah. I guess
one sec.
Okay.
I just want to say the best part about Meredith's ideas is I'm like a very logical person. So she's like, okay, Alex, I'm thinking about starting this like women's publication. And I'm like, okay, so what are your initial thoughts? She's like, well, the reason why I'm thinking about this is because this, and it's like a bunch of like, industry. It's like a lot of men. So it'd be cool to have like a women's one. And like, there's more women in biking and there's more like activism in that way. So I just thought, and I'm like, okay. So we would probably need to hire.
You got into it too. We had the whole conversation.
And then we're like naming people.
I know.
Well, like we could totally hire them as writers.
They could freelance.
We would need an editor.
Yeah.
We would need people like, we're like fully forming this
we
business.
We fully formed the business in like a 45-minute car ride. This is what I'm talking about with that part of the brain.
I know.
You have it too.
But if it's a good idea, I will fully take that bait.
It's a pretty good idea.
And then we stop and we're like, wait, we don't have time for this.
We just blacked out together, didn't we? We did. We did that thing that we do. So silly. We did it again. Yeah. Well, it's fun though. I like that. Anyways, yeah, that's kind of it. I guess I do want to say thank you. Not only for listening, but to anyone who's listening.
Oh,
no, Alex.
Oh, sorry.
Wait, thank you, Alex, for your support. Yeah. Thank you for listening, of course, but if you are listening and also have ever been a client of mine or we've worked together in some way, I really do appreciate your trust and commitment and just being a part of my growth. I I don't often say that to people, like, you've changed my life, but you have, if you're hearing this. So thank you.
And if you're wondering, I'm still taking clients.
Alex is better able to compartmentalize. She's also a great coach. So
thanks.
Yeah, you do a really good job. And that's it for today's episode. So thank you for listening. Thank you, Alex, for being here. And Rue, you've done great this whole time. You haven't caused a ruckus like you usually do. So thank you for that. Oh, you're about to. I see it. All right. Well, on to the next one. Goodbye.